A simple way of looking at emotion is energy in motion. What can happen is those emotions can be out of motion and get kind of stuck. It's sort of like a frozen energy in the body, and that's when it can have so many catastrophic effects to how the internal body of all the organs and all that sort of function, and then also how the external body, the muscular system, and all that sort of functions. And ultimately, it can lead to tension, which can lead to weakening of the system. So today we are talking about how to release your emotions and anything that's kind of feeling stuck in your body. That's what we'll dive into. And part of the muse for what Marcus and I will be talking on today will be an excerpt from a book called Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender. So I'll read this passage that I found really powerful, that breaks down the process of how emotions get stuck in the body and how we can start to release them. And it's a bit different to what you might find with often, like, there's common things of, like, when you feel intense emotions. For me, a challenge and kind of gift that I've had to work through in my life has been anxiety. And so that's been a constant thing that has felt very tense inside my body. And so for a long time, I tried to fix it with a lot of different modalities, but I didn't realize that I was actually kind of suppressing it and masking it, and it still just sort of stayed there. And then when my energy dropped down, then it would come up and say hello. And so maybe you can relate. And so this excerpt that I'm about to read may shed some light on how we can actually start to face these emotional states that keep coming back, keep getting stuck in the body, and actually start to move past them and transcend them so they don't be stuck so often. So I'll get into the reading. Letting go involves being aware of a feeling, letting it come up, staying with it, and letting it run its course without wanting to make a difference or do anything about it. It means simply to let the feeling be there and to focus on letting out the energy behind it. The first step is to allow yourself to have the feeling without resisting it, inventing it, fearing it, condemning it, or moralizing about it. It means to drop judgment and to see that it is just a feeling. The technique is to be with the feeling and surrender all efforts to modify it in any way. Let go of wanting to resist the feeling. It is resistance that keeps the feeling going. When you give up resisting or trying to modify the feeling, it will shift into the next feeling and be accompanied by a lighter sensation. A feeling that is not resistant will disappear as the energy behind it dissipates. And as you begin the process, you will notice that you have fear and guilt over having feelings. There will be resistance to feelings in general, to let feelings come up. It's easier to let go of the reaction to having feelings in the first place. Fear is a prime example of this. Let go of the fear or guilt that you have about the feeling first, then get into the feeling itself. And when letting go, ignore all thoughts. Focus on the feeling itself, not on the thoughts. Thoughts are endless and self-reinforcing, and they only breed more thoughts. Thoughts are merely rationalizations of the mind to try to explain the presence of the feeling. The real reason for the feeling is the accumulated pressure behind the feeling that's forcing it to come up in the moment. The thoughts or external events are only an excuse made up by the mind. So it's pretty powerful reading there, and it's definitely forms a cornerstone for a lot of the work that we do. Often we talk about feeling is healing, and that can be quite challenging to digest, that simple concept of how do we work with a feeling and why is it healing.
This passage you read is, in a way, the only thing you need to practice to be with your feelings. And what I realized for myself and also with the work with my clients, it seems so simple that first the reasoning mind don't want to accept this. To just do this little thing, bring your awareness into the area of the body where you feel the most intense connection to what you're experiencing right now. And the next thing your reasoning mind want to do is start thinking about it to escape from it, to not feel it, to use thoughts to draw our attention away. And this is where I got caught up for a long time. And I was not aware of using my thoughts to drive myself away from what's really there and what's really happening. And yeah, this is where support from outside can be really helpful, and was also needed for myself, that someone is just telling me, okay, now you start thinking again, come back into your body, bring your awareness back into the body. And this is where the challenge often starts, when people are also feeling unsafe having a body, then they get lost in nowhere because the thoughts are rambling, emotions getting intense. Staying in the body is not an option because they feel the threat of having a body, and then things really get nasty. This is
Yeah. That perceived danger of experiencing, can be overwhelming and can then take us out of that physical experience. And if you don't kind of have comprehension or even belief, if it seems too woo woo, like when we're talking about energy and all of that sort of stuff, of like we are made up of energy and that we can project ourselves and our awareness outside of our body and outside of the physical
yeah,
experience. And but this can really happen, in clinical terms, it's called dissociation. And
yeah,
one thing that I definitely notice a lot and also got stuck with myself was that, when we have these feelings or the pain that we experience, it might be physical pain or just like the pain of being human and the things that we
yeah,
go through. Sometimes we can then look for all of this information to try and understand it, to try and rationalize, like you were saying before, with like that rational reasoning mind. And then it feels good. It feels good, like, oh, I've got
I got it.
this, or and then it's like this level of illusionary safety of I understand my problem now. It's childhood trauma, and it all came from there, and that is the answer. And now I feel safe in that. And while that may have truth, it's definitely not invalidating that.
Yeah,
There is the knowing of what it is, and then there's the direct experience of what we're holding on to. And so that's what we're kind of talking about here, is that we can come back to the physical experience because the body doesn't lie, where the mind can go off in all different tangents and in interpretations and creating meanings and stories, which then it's like a thought leads to a thought and leads to a thought, and but the feeling still stays there. And so we have good
yeah,
days and bad days, and life can feel like this. And what we're kind of looking to do is not flatline, but have a smoother experience of, we still feel stuff, but we're less involved with the feeling. And so then that can allow us to move forward. And I'm still learning this in myself as well, because sometimes feelings do hit me like a wave and inhibit me from living my, I suppose, life at highest potential. And so, but we can keep working with this, work with these feelings, and it's an amazing experience once you can face the feeling and experientially. And then when it comes up, it's like, oh, this doesn't have power over me. It's just like a cloud passing, it's happening. And here I am, I can move forward amidst it.
I was definitely one of those persons who just wanted to know. So just intellectual understanding.
Mm.
And after understanding, just make a check mark and I got it and move on to the next thing.
I'm done.
Until I realized, okay, I'm talking about those things. I tell this my clients, but in myself, this is still going on and I'm not facing it. Yeah, just got it and not really diving into it. And when we go about the energy, which often feels for many people like, as you mentioned, woo-woo or too spiritual. But if you just look at the hierarchy of our consciousness, of our mind, there is a thought first, then there is emotion. After emotion, the energy is built up, and then we go into action or non-action. So
Mm,
this is just a natural thing happening in our system.
mm,
And we just are too hypersensitive into our thought patterns. because in a way, this is how we are conditioned. We have to
Mm,
think first. And there is where we get stuck. So we
mm.
have to go into emotions and energies, aka feelings, to really break through those limitations we set upon ourselves in terms of what we learned or experienced in the past.
And I suppose this is where the power of somatic based therapies can come in and can help bridge that gap to support cognitive understanding, because talk based therapies can be really helpful to bring awareness to different patterns of thought and the ways that we identify with ourselves and the world around us and all different things to give that kind of logical layer of understanding, which can be really helpful to establish that sort of baseline of safety in the experience. And then to complement it, somatic therapies can start to come in to bring in the physical experience of it. And that's definitely the realm that we work in a lot. And if we were to make things practical as we kind of wrap up this conversation, where would you start with someone who's been experiencing build up of emotions that it's feeling like it's held in the body to the point where like the body is starting to reflect it, like we're feeling tense inside and maybe sometimes pain can result? What might you do to start to look at that from a somatic perspective to work with someone?
Yeah, it depends. There are more possibilities. First thing can be just to use those somatic movements to give this person a space to just experience the body with a more open mind and to start observing where thoughts are coming up, to resist what's happening and just tell, okay, yeah, stop there, keep your awareness in the body and realize nothing will happen right now. You're just moving your arm or your spine. This can be a good start to just connect.
If we don't feel safe in the body, start by moving the areas that you can connect with safely. It might be, like just your fingers and your hands, and your mind might say this is pointless and silly, but we're starting to establish almost like a safe map of like, I'm going to map out this area and feel the sensations and experience this area, and then start to realize, okay, this is safe. And then other things may come up and we can go kind of further and further into the center of the body where a lot of the emotional content is often stored. And I find that approach can be really helpful when we bring in a problem or a challenge that is being experienced, and then we can work with it that way. Giving yourself, just a short period of time and just starting connecting with your body and the sensations and feelings, and then letting that be just a gentle guide, allowing yourself to just simply experience what's there and start to go, okay, I did that. I faced that at the level that I could in the physical body. I let myself experience it. And then that can really build up over time and be a really powerful journey of self discovery and empowerment through and freedom.
Yeah, when I just reflect my personal story, that if someone having trouble becoming aware of feelings, just watch your thought patterns. If they are rambling, you know a feeling is going on.
Mm,
And
mm,
just ask yourself, where is this in my body? Where can I feel this thought pattern in my body? And trust your intuition where your awareness is drawn to, and bring your awareness into this area and
mm.
just there. And this was very helpful for myself.
So I suppose, like in summary, like this is a practice of really acceptance, acceptance of where you're at and what's happening, rather than trying to see the feeling as a problem and then trying to change it, because then that then adds more to it. So what we're doing is this is a practice of subtraction, taking away what is not and coming back to what is, coming back to the present moment, which is easy to say, but this is a really practical way to then start to experience the pain, the joy, all of the richness that comes in being alive in the present. And from there, that's kind of like a starting point that I feel for life. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll look forward to another conversation in the future, and take care. We'll speak soon.
Bye bye.